What if everything you thought you knew about Johnny Depp was just the beginning? Behind those famous eccentric roles and that mysterious charm lies a story filled with triumph, heartbreak, and incredible resilience that will completely change how you see one of Hollywood's most fascinating actors. Stay with me because this journey into the life of Johnny Depp is unlike anything you've ever heard before. Welcome back to our channel, Movie Lovers. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into the extraordinary life of Johnny Depp, the man behind unforgettable characters like Captain Jack Sparrow and Edward Scissorhands. This isn't just another celebrity biography. We're uncovering the real story, the personal struggles, and the amazing strength that shaped one of cinema's most unique performers. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because you won't want to miss any part of this incredible story. Johnny Christopher Depp was born on June 9, 1963, in Owensboro, Kentucky, during a time when his family was constantly moving from place to place. His childhood was marked by instability, with his family moving more than 20 times before finally settling in Miramar, Florida. This constant upheaval created a sense of uncertainty that would follow Johnny throughout his early years. His parents had a troubled relationship filled with arguments and tension, which made home feel like anything but a safe haven for young Johnny. When he was just 15 years old, his parents divorced, an event that Johnny later described as deeply traumatic and life-changing. The boy who had already struggled with feeling settled anywhere now faced the complete breakdown of his family structure. His mother Betty Sue remarried a man named Robert Palmer, who would eventually become a supportive figure in Johnny's life, but the damage to Johnny's sense of security had already been done. Feeling lost and disconnected from the world around him, Johnny found his first real refuge in music. At the age of 12, his mother had given him a guitar, and it quickly became much more than just an instrument. It was his escape, his way of expressing feelings he couldn't put into words, and his companion during the loneliest moments of his teenage years. He spent countless hours in his room, learning to play and writing songs that helped him process the pain and confusion he was experiencing. Johnny formed several small bands during his high school years, playing in local venues and dreaming of making it big in the music industry. School felt meaningless to him compared to the passion he felt for music, and at 16, he made the bold decision to drop out of high school to pursue his musical dreams. Though he briefly returned to school, his principal, perhaps recognizing that Johnny's heart wasn't in traditional education, actually encouraged him to follow his passion for music instead. While other teenagers were focused on typical high school activities, Johnny was pouring his heart and soul into his guitar, creating melodies that reflected his inner struggles and hopes for the future. Music became his therapy, his rebellion, and his salvation all at once. It was through music that the shy, troubled teenager began to find his voice and discover that he had something unique to offer the world. However, the wounds from his unstable childhood continued to affect him, creating patterns of restlessness and searching that would follow him throughout his life. In the early 1980s, Johnny packed up his dreams and moved to Los Angeles with his band, hoping to make it big in the music industry. Like so many young musicians before him, he discovered that success in Hollywood was much harder to achieve than he had imagined. Instead of recording contracts and sold-out concerts, Johnny found himself struggling to make ends meet, taking odd jobs just to pay rent in an expensive city that seemed to crush dreams as easily as it made them. His band broke up, and his musical aspirations seemed to be slipping away, leaving him feeling lost and uncertain about his future. It was during this difficult period that fate intervened in an unexpected way. Through his first wife, Laurie and Allison, whom he had married when he was just 20 years old, Johnny met actor Nicolas Cage. Cage saw something special in Johnny, a unique intensity and natural charisma that he believed would translate well to acting. Despite having no formal training or previous interest in acting, Johnny decided to give it a try, partly out of desperation and partly out of curiosity about this new creative outlet. His first audition was for Wes Craven's horror film A Nightmare on Elm Street, where he was cast as Glenn, the boyfriend who meets a gruesome end at the hands of Freddy Krueger. The role was small, but it marked the beginning of a completely new chapter in Johnny's life. He discovered that acting, like music before it, allowed him to express parts of himself that he couldn't access in everyday life. Each character became a way to explore different aspects of human emotion and experience, giving him an outlet for the creativity and depth that had always been part of who he was. What started as an accidental career choice quickly became a passionate pursuit. Johnny realized that acting gave him the same kind of emotional release that music had provided, allowing him to transform his personal pain and experiences into something meaningful and artistic. The transition from struggling musician to emerging actor wasn't easy, but it opened up possibilities that Johnny had never imagined. He began to see acting not just as a job, but as another form of artistic expression that could help him make sense of his own life while entertaining and moving other people. His early success in A Nightmare on Elm Street led to more opportunities, and slowly but surely, Johnny began to build a reputation as a talented and dedicated performer who brought something special to every role he played. In 1987, Johnny landed the role that would make him a household name but also create one of the biggest challenges of his career. He was cast as Officer Tom Hansen in the television series 21 Jump Street, a show about young-looking police officers who went undercover in high schools. The show became incredibly popular, especially among teenage audiences, and Johnny suddenly found himself transformed from an unknown actor into a major celebrity and teen heartthrob. While the success brought him financial security and widespread recognition, it also created a problem that Johnny hadn't anticipated. He felt trapped by the clean-cut, all-American image that the show promoted, which was completely different from the complex, artistic person he knew himself to be. The attention was overwhelming, and he began to feel like he was being packaged and sold as a product rather than respected as an artist. Johnny later described this period as feeling like he was living in a golden cage, successful on the surface but creatively unfulfilled and personally struggling with the demands of fame. The show ran for several years, during which Johnny felt increasingly disconnected from the work he was doing. He knew that the role was providing him with opportunities and financial stability, but it wasn't feeding his soul or allowing him to explore the kind of complex, challenging characters that interested him as an actor. This experience taught Johnny an important lesson about the entertainment industry and helped him decide what kind of career he wanted to build for himself. He realized that he wanted to be known for his artistic choices rather than his looks, and he began to actively seek out roles that would challenge him and allow him to show his range as a performer. Even while he was still working on 21 Jump Street, Johnny started making plans for the kind of career he wanted to have once the show ended, focusing on projects that would showcase his talent and creativity rather than just his marketability as a teen idol. The experience of being typecast so early in his career made Johnny more determined than ever to prove that he was a serious actor capable of much more than the entertainment industry initially gave him credit for. When 21 Jump Street finally ended, Johnny made a conscious decision to choose roles that were as different as possible from his clean-cut television image. He wanted to work with directors who would challenge him and help him grow as an artist, and he was willing to take risks with his career to pursue the kind of creative fulfillment that had been missing during his years as a teen heartthrob. In 1990, Johnny took a role in Cry Baby, a musical comedy directed by John Waters that allowed him to poke fun at his own image while showing a different side of his personality. The film wasn't a huge commercial success, but it was an important step in Johnny's journey to redefine himself as a serious actor. That same year, he was cast in what would become one of his most beloved and critically acclaimed performances, playing the title character in Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands. The role of Edward, a gentle artificial man with scissors for hands who struggles to fit into suburban society, was perfect for Johnny because it allowed him to explore themes of isolation and difference that resonated deeply with his own experiences. Working with Tim Burton was a transformative experience for Johnny because Burton understood and appreciated his desire to create unique, memorable characters rather than just playing conventional leading men. Edward Scissorhands was a critical and commercial success that established Johnny as a serious actor capable of bringing depth and emotion to unconventional roles. The film also began a long creative partnership between Johnny and Tim Burton that would produce several more acclaimed collaborations over the years. Johnny's performance as Edward was praised for its sensitivity and emotional depth, showing audiences that he was capable of much more than the lightweight roles he had been offered in the past. The success of Edward Scissorhands opened doors for Johnny to work with other respected directors and take on increasingly challenging and interesting roles. Throughout the 1990s, he continued to choose projects that showcased his range and artistic ambitions, working with directors like Jim Jarmusch, Terry Gilliam, and Mike Newell on films that were often unconventional but always memorable. Each role allowed Johnny to explore different aspects of his craft and build a reputation as one of Hollywood's most versatile and committed actors. He played a romantic lead in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, an undercover FBI agent in Donnie Brasco, and a gonzo journalist in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, each performance showing a different facet of his abilities as an actor. By the end of the decade, Johnny had successfully transformed himself from a teen television star into one of cinema's most respected character actors, known for his willingness to take risks and his ability to bring humanity to even the most unusual characters. This period of his career established the foundation for everything that would follow, proving that Johnny Depp was an actor who would never be satisfied with easy choices or conventional roles. In 2003, Johnny took on a role that would define his career and make him one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood, Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. The character, with his distinctive walk, slurred speech and unpredictable behavior, was unlike any Disney hero that audiences had ever seen before. Johnny based the character partly on rock legend Keith Richards, creating a pirate who was more swashbuckling trickster than traditional action hero. Disney executives were initially worried about Johnny's unusual interpretation of the character, fearing that his eccentric performance might not appeal to mainstream audiences. However, when the film was released, audiences were absolutely captivated by Captain Jack Sparrow, and the movie became a massive worldwide success. The role earned Johnny his first Academy Award nomination and established him as a major box office draw. The success of the first Pirates film led to several sequels, each one earning Johnny enormous paychecks and cementing his status as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. However, the pressure of repeating the same character over multiple films began to wear on Johnny, who had always preferred to explore new and different roles with each project. While the Pirates films made him incredibly wealthy and famous, they also represented a kind of creative prison, limiting his ability to take on the diverse range of characters that had defined his earlier career. Despite the commercial success, Johnny began to feel disconnected from the work and struggled with the demands of maintaining such a high-profile public persona. The Pirates films were followed by other big-budget projects like Alice in Wonderland and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which continued to showcase Johnny's ability to create memorable characters but also reinforced his image as Hollywood's go-to actor for quirky, eccentric roles. While these films were successful at the box office, Johnny found himself longing for the creative freedom and artistic challenges that had driven him earlier in his career. The wealth and fame that came with these blockbuster roles also brought new pressures and responsibilities that sometimes felt overwhelming. Johnny's personal life became increasingly scrutinized by the media, and he began to retreat from the public eye, preferring to focus on his art and his family rather than the celebrity lifestyle that his success had made possible. Throughout this period of massive commercial success, Johnny never lost sight of his artistic ambitions, continuing to work on smaller, more personal projects whenever possible and always looking for ways to challenge himself as a performer and creative artist. Behind the glamour of his Hollywood success, Johnny's personal life was marked by both deep love and devastating loss. His most significant relationship began in 1998 when he met French singer and actress Vanessa Paradis while filming The Ninth Gate in France. Their connection was immediate and profound, and they began a relationship that would last 14 years and produce 2 children, Lily Rose in 1999 and Jack in 2002. For Johnny, Vanessa and their children represented stability and happiness that he had never experienced before. He often spoke about how becoming a father had given him a sense of purpose and grounding that had been missing from his life. The family divided their time between France and the United States, creating a life that was relatively private and peaceful despite Johnny's enormous fame. However, in 2012, their relationship came to an end, a breakup that Johnny later described as extremely painful and difficult for everyone involved, especially their children. The end of his relationship with Vanessa left Johnny feeling lost and vulnerable, setting the stage for what would become the most difficult period of his entire life. Not long after his separation from Vanessa, Johnny met actress Amber Heard while filming The Rum Diary in 2009, though their romantic relationship didn't begin until several years later. In February 2015, when Johnny was 51 years old, they married in what seemed like a new beginning for the actor. However, the marriage was troubled from the start, and within just 15 months, it had completely fallen apart. In May 2016, Amber filed for divorce and obtained a restraining order, making allegations of domestic violence that Johnny strongly denied. What followed was one of the most publicized and destructive celebrity legal battles in modern history, with accusations and counter-accusations playing out in courts and tabloid headlines for years. The divorce was finalized in 2017 with a $7 million settlement, but the damage to Johnny's reputation was severe and lasting. In 2018, Amber published an editorial in the Washington Post about domestic violence that, while not naming Johnny directly, clearly referenced their relationship. Johnny responded by filing a $50 million defamation lawsuit, claiming that the article had destroyed his career and cost him millions of dollars in lost film roles. The legal battle that followed was brutal and public, with intimate details of their relationship exposed in court proceedings that were broadcast around the world. Johnny's career suffered enormously during this period, with major film studios distancing themselves from him and several high-profile projects being cancelled or recast. The man who had once been one of Hollywood's most beloved and bankable stars found himself effectively blacklisted from the industry that had made him famous. In 2022, after years of legal battles and public scrutiny, a Virginia jury ruled in Johnny's favor, finding that Amber's editorial had indeed defamed him and awarding him $10 million in damages. While the legal victory was significant, it came after years of professional and personal devastation that had taken an enormous toll on Johnny's health, finances, and emotional well-being. The trial was watched by millions of people around the world, turning Johnny's private pain into public entertainment and forever changing how he was perceived by both the media and his fans. At the height of his career in the late 2000s and early 2010s, Johnny was not just one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors, he was living like a modern-day king with a lifestyle that reflected his enormous wealth and success. His fortune was estimated to be around $650 million, and he owned properties around the world that reflected his love of luxury and privacy. Among his possessions were a 37-acre estate in France that he had lovingly restored, multiple penthouses in Los Angeles, a horse farm in Kentucky, and even his own private island in the Bahamas. He also owned a 156-foot yacht named Vajo La Roja, combining the names of Vanessa, Johnny, Lily Rose and Jack, which served as both a symbol of his wealth and his devotion to his family. Johnny's spending was legendary, with reports of him spending $30,000 a month on wine alone and maintaining a staff of over 40 people to manage his various properties and business interests. However, this extravagant lifestyle became unsustainable, especially as his legal troubles mounted and his career opportunities diminished. By 2017, Johnny was embroiled in a lawsuit with his former management company over allegations of financial mismanagement, with shocking details of his spending habits becoming public knowledge. Among the revelations was his decision to spend $3 million to shoot his friend Hunter S. Thompson's ashes from a cannon, fulfilling a promise he had made to the late writer. As his legal bills mounted and his income decreased, Johnny was forced to sell many of his prized possessions, including the French estate and the beloved yacht. The financial pressures, combined with the stress of his legal battles and the end of his relationship with Vanessa, took a severe toll on Johnny's physical and emotional health. Friends and colleagues noticed that he appeared increasingly thin and frail, and there were concerns about his ability to handle the demands of his remaining film projects. The transformation from wealthy Hollywood royalty to a man struggling with financial and legal problems was stark and painful to witness. However, Johnny's financial troubles also served as a wake-up call, forcing him to re-evaluate his priorities and focus on what truly mattered in his life. Today, at 60 years old, Johnny Depp presents a remarkably different figure than the troubled man who dominated headlines during his legal battles with Amber Heard. His transformation has been both physical and emotional, with many fans and observers noting how much healthier and more peaceful he appears in recent public appearances. His silver-streaked hair and distinguished beard have earned him praise as a silver fox, but the change goes much deeper than appearance. Johnny has embraced a quieter, more reflective lifestyle, spending much of his time in the French countryside where he can focus on his art and personal interests away from the pressures of Hollywood. He has returned to his first love, music, performing with his band the Hollywood Vampires alongside Alice Cooper and Joe Perry, finding joy and creative fulfillment in live performance. His relationship with his children, particularly his daughter Lily Rose, who has followed him into acting, remains one of the most important aspects of his life. Johnny has spoken about how his children have been his anchor throughout all of his difficulties, providing him with love and support when everything else seemed to be falling apart. While his net worth is now estimated to be between $150 and $200 million, significantly less than his peak wealth, Johnny appears to have found a sense of peace and contentment that money alone could never provide. He has largely stepped away from the Hollywood machine that once consumed his life, choosing instead to focus on smaller, more personal projects that allow him to express his creativity without the pressures of blockbuster expectations. His recent work, including his appearance at the Cannes Film Festival, has been praised by critics and fans alike, suggesting that Johnny Depp the artist has survived and thrived despite everything he has endured. His journey from teenage dropout to global superstar to public pariah and finally to a man who has found peace on his own terms is one of the most compelling stories in modern entertainment history. Johnny Depp's life story teaches us that success isn't just about fame or money, but about staying true to yourself and finding the strength to keep going even when everything seems hopeless. His ability to reinvent himself multiple times throughout his career and personal life shows us that it's never too late to change direction and find meaning in new ways. What aspect of Johnny Depp's incredible journey resonates most with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories about the lives of Hollywood's most intriguing personalities.